Now, when Breath of the Wild came out in 2017, a lot of hardcore Zelda fans were shocked when they saw both the RITO and ZORA in the same game. Because, according to the Wind Waker, one was the evolution of the other. So why are they both seen in Hyrule now? Well, the answer is actually quite simplistic and has been under our nose the whole time. Also, big thank you for the person in the comments who pointed this out. Now, let's get right in. In this game, you will find our lovely bird race in the RITO village, which is located in the middle of Lake Totori in the Tabanta region. They are led by an elderly RITO chieftain named Kanali and live a quite peaceful life on these stone pillars located high above the lake. But on the other side of the world, we find a settlement filled with our favorite fish people, living in Zora's domain, which is located in the Lanayru region next to Akala, with the domain being ruled by the family of King Dorephan and his son Sidon. So as you can see, there are two kingdoms on the opposite sides of the world who don't seem to be connected to each other. However, according to everything we have seen in the older games, they should be related to each other in some way. And that's mostly because of one game mentioning that the following happened to the RITO after a great disaster. In the Wind Waker, the Zoras evolved over the span of a century into the RITO after the events of the Great Flood, because of the unnatural water created by the gods. They live in Dragon Roost Island, specifically within a small cavern to the side of the island mountain. Due to their wings, they can fly over the Great Sea with ease, and mainly work as post carriers. Their location is significantly important to their way of life. It's where Valu the Sky Spirit roosts atop the Dragon Roost Cavern peak, and he actually gives the RITO their wings when they become an adult. Thanks to this, everyone always puts the Zoras or RITO in the same category, being similar but with one going for flight and the other water. However, in the Wind Waker, we never really saw the Zoras in the waters and only the RITOs in this game, but this is different in Breath of the Wild. Here we see both of them. So what happened in this game? How could it be that there are both ZORA and RITO? Well, there's actually an answer for this, and it all started way higher up the mountain near their village in a place called the Hebra Falls. This is a location close to the bigger Hebra Mountains, which is absolutely gigantic and completely frozen with snow falling almost always. Here is where it all started, because if you look at this place, the rest of the mountain and RITO village, you can see something really interesting. At the beginning, you can see a lot of water coming out of the mountain by the looks of it, rushing down at high speeds. Now, when you think about it, this water probably comes from all the ice and snow seen there melting, and so it comes pouring down. We even see this a lot in real life, with an example of this being called a freshet, which is most commonly used to describe a spring thaw resulting from snow and ice melting in rivers located in upper North America. This can sometimes last for several weeks on large river systems, resulting in tons and tons of water pouring down. They can occur with differing strength and duration depending upon the amount of snow and ice, as well as the local average rates of warming temperatures. Now, something like this is most likely happening here as well. Stuff on the mountain melts and starts running down, forming a spring or river of sorts. If we take a look at where all of this water goes to at such insane speeds, we end up going down the mountain quite fast, even going past a shrine. So if you haven't gotten that one yet, you might want to take a look there. I didn't even know it was there. So hey, you learn something new every day. After continuing our way down by following the river, we end up at another body of water called the Hebra Plunge. Here you will find a ton of water. Clearly the mountain has been getting rid of ice and snow for quite some time. And it keeps going down and down and down until it reached a threshold, a gigantic wall of stone. And so this water ends up here, right next to the RITO village with some stones separating the two. Now if you look at all of this, things can start to make sense. And there are a couple of scenarios that could have happened, because I believe the RITO were indeed once Zoras. Now I will explain what could have happened. Back in the day, the ice and snow up the mountain was melting at an extremely fast rate. Tons and tons of it was turning into water, all running down the mountain, ending up at the Hebra Plunge, which eventually filled up. Thanks to this, it started to run over, with the water ending up in Lake Totori, filling it to the brim at some point. All of this makes it an amazing habitat for a bunch of lovely little fish creatures known as the Zoras. That's most likely how they ended up there, a different group of Zoras living on the other side of the world. I bet back in the day there was a thriving community of Zoras living in a completely filled up Lake Totori. I'm not sure if they were part of the Zora's domain kingdom or came from somewhere else, but at least they somehow ended up there, allowing for something beautiful, but also a certain event that ended up creating the RITO which we can see today. Now, this is what most likely happened, but do keep in mind that this probably took centuries upon centuries to eventually happen in the world of Hyrule. At some point, the mountains started running out of ice and snow that was melting, although I have no idea on how this could have gone wrong after such a long time. Global cooling instead of warming? Maybe. I mean, we have seen stuff like ice ages in real life, so who knows really? But thanks to the fact that less and less water was running down, the water levels in the Hebra Plunge couldn't be maintained. This led to the well-known Lake Totori, home of the Zora Kingdom or tribe, to lose water over time, and in the end it turned into quite a small, depressing puddle. So with almost no water being there and the lake turning into some sort of gigantic crater you can barely get out of, the Zoras had no options really. And so they might have evolved into the RITO in time so they could finally live on the stone pillars seen in the lake and also get out of that hellhole for good. This could have easily happened and seems quite logical when looking at the water streams on the map or from above. It clearly leads to Totori Lake. So personally, I'm quite convinced that this is how they went from living in a lake filled with fish that constantly got new fresh water, to not really making it and being forced to evolve in something else instead of staying in the water and going extinct. That's what they did in the Wind Waker at least, when the gods out of nowhere created a bunch of water, resulting in quite a dangerous ocean, which probably didn't go well coming from a monster-free lake. And so we ended up with both Zoras and Ritos living in the world of Hyrule now. One being able to live a normal life, and the other going through a process of evolution. So the mystery's finally solved. We know where the Rito came from. I found the answer for the biggest Zelda mystery yet. Yes! We did it! Everyone, we did it! We found the answer, we made it! Woo! Where's my Nobel Prize? Come on! But Wily, how did they turn into the Rito then? Remember, in a Wind Waker they needed help from a deity to become full-fledged birds. Well, yeah, alright. We aren't really there yet. I agree. There's more to the whole story than just that. It could be that they did it all without the help of any deity whatsoever. Like I said, in real life we see this everywhere. But to be honest, this is the world of Hyrule, so there's more at play. However, one thing is certain. Valoo couldn't have played a role in all of this, since he was only seen in the Wind Waker. He was a sky spirit that was the only one with powers of granting flight. However, while we don't see him, we do see other beings that could play that role. Because you can encounter 3 guardian dragon spirits that live in Hyrule, known as Dinral, Nidra, and Feyrosh. Normally you go after them to obtain rare materials known as dragon parts, which you get by hitting them with arrows. Now, according to legend, the Dueling Peaks was once a single mountain that was split into 2 by one of these dragons, so clearly they do have some crazy powers. And maybe they could have also helped these struggling Zoras, who were doomed to die after their water ran out, giving them the ability of flight, playing a similar role to Valoo from the Wind Waker, who also granted them the final step in that game. It's certainly possible. However, can they really do this? And if they can, then would they even help those Zoras? Well, before we get to that, in the upper right corner there are way more videos and even a playlist. So go check it out after this video, and don't forget to subscribe. Well, maybe they can and would. Valoo was able to do it and also decided to help the Zoras back in the Wind Waker, so it's 100% possible that one or even all these guardian dragons did a similar thing to Valoo hundreds of years ago. When it comes down to it, there's only one major problem with all of this. None of the dragons are even close to Rito Village. All of them are seen quite far away from it, making it less likely that they went over there and helped this random group of Zoras. So if it all really happened is certainly questionable, but it's possible. However, it could also be that they did all of it on their own. They do look quite different from the Rito and need updrafts to fly. And you could argue that this means that they can't fly, but just glide. So some things in this video are still up for debate, but I at least think that this water flow from the mountain that almost reaches the lake under the RITO village is certainly a big hint that they used to be ZORAs, finally giving us some sort of answer to a question people have been wondering about for months upon months. And don't forget, in the upper right corner are way more videos.